Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, digital transformation champions, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. In this episode number 121, I'm myth-busting some social media statements. In social media news, Google Plus goes to social media heaven, introducing Facebook Portal, and AI helps Instagram prevent bullying. I interview Scott Ayres, a social media scientist and marketing expert. In shoutouts, the lies some people tell you about social media. Ask JSB from Brussels, in JSB's column, why some organisations are still refusing to engage in social media and what you can do to convince them it's a key communications channel. Finally, find out what social media tool saved my working week.
Social media news.
Google is shutting down Google Plus for consumers over the next 10 months following a security breach. In a blog post, the company said they discovered a previously undisclosed security flaw that exposed users' profile data that was remedied in March 2018. The company says Google Plus currently has low usage and engagement, with 90% of Google Plus user sessions lasting less than 5 seconds. Google will keep the service alive for enterprise customers who use it to facilitate conversations among co-workers. I'm kind of sad about this news. I loved Google Plus. For example, every Friday I share this podcast onto the Google Plus platform, and within 24 hours it was indexed on the search engine. Oh well, I'll just have to keep going with my traditional SEO tactics. Facebook has announced a new video chat camera device called Portal, which comes in a 10-inch 720-pixel version for $200. It also comes in a 15.6-inch 1080-pixel version for $350, and this is known as Portal Plus. The larger version can be rotated from landscape to portrait mode as well. The Portal supports video chat through Facebook's Messenger app, and you can also use the device for viewing Facebook Watch and listening to Spotify, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. The Portal also works as a digital photo frame. YouTube is, not surprisingly, not supported by Portal. The Portal also has Amazon Alexa integration built in, so you can also handle voice commands. For example, you can say, Portal, call JSB. Then the device will call my Portal or the Messenger app on my phone. The new head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, says there is no place for bullying on the platform. Writing in a blog post, he said, if people see that kind of hurtful behaviour on our platform, they can report it, and we remove any content that violates our guidelines. Online bullying is complex, and we know we have more work to do to further limit bullying and spread kindness on Instagram. That's why today we're announcing our latest tools to help combat bullying, including a new way to identify and report bullying in photos. We're also introducing a camera effect to help spread kindness in stories. As the new head of Instagram, I'm proud to build on our commitment to making Instagram a kind and safe community for everyone. Instagram are now using machine learning technology to proactively detect bullying in photos and their captions and send them on to their community operations team to review. They say the change will help them identify and remove significantly more incidents of bullying. The new technology has begun to roll out and will continue to do so across the world in the coming weeks.
Interview.
In this episode, I interview Scott Ayres, co-author of Facebook All-in-One for Dummies, and podcast host for Social Media Lab, powered by Agorapulse. He has written over 2,000 blog posts on social media topics and has contributed to 3 of the top 10 social media blogs for 2018. Scott loves busting myths about social media marketing. In his own words, he says, even if that means going against what he was taught in the past or is still being taught by gurus today. So in this interview, Scott and I do some social media myth busting.
JSB Talks Digital.
Scott Ayres, I am delighted to have you on JSB Talks Digital. We've been going around the houses trying to get a time that suits both of us because you're in Texas and I'm in the west of Ireland. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, we eventually finally got some time zones figured out. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great.
And I still got the time zone wrong because
I wasn't throwing you under the bus. I was trying to...
It's okay. I always get this wrong. People know, my listeners know. I always get lost and I always get time zones wrong. You can't be good at everything, right?
Being from Texas is like there's just one time zone. We don't think about even other states. So thinking about other countries really throws us off.
I'm so delighted to have you on the show because I followed your work for many years, and obviously the work that you're doing with Agorapulse is amazing, and we've just kind of been speaking about the lab project and that it's a year old, and this show is all about busting social media myths. And I guess that's what your work is all about. But let's go back a bit before we get into that. Tell people a little bit about you. You describe yourself as the social media scientist.
Yeah, that was the title that Emmerich allowed me to give myself, which is I don't have a doctorate in science to be that. But yeah, so for me, I mean personally, I've been around the social media world, blogging for a couple of years. I worked for a company called Hubsy, which used to be Fan Page Engine back in the day. You might remember that. And then I worked for Post Planner for a couple of years, and now I've been at Agorapulse almost 2 years now. So that's kind of been my social media journey. I was able to co-author Facebook All-in-One for Dummies a couple of years ago, which was a lot of work and a lot of fun. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who wants to do a book. For Dummies is not the easiest thing to write. And it's like out of date as soon as it's published. Because it's a hard copy about Facebook. So it's old. But yeah, so I've been around social media for a while, written thousands of blogs. I don't have my history before social media was I was actually a minister for years. I did youth and sports. Recreation. I actually have a college degree in sports recreation, church recreation to be precise. So I can teach you how to play games and do trust activities, and I don't do that anymore. So yeah, it's always interesting how your journey kind of takes you 10,000 different directions. Social media, as you said, is changing faster than the speed of light, and it's so difficult for us who were, intending to be the go-to authority on it in whatever area that we're working in or whatever part of the world that we're in. But the work that you guys are doing at Agorapulse in terms of giving us almost like scientific answers to the big questions that we have by analyzing the data, I think is doing a real service to the industry, because sometimes social media gets a bad rap, right? Yes, it does. And a lot of times, you and I are probably the culprits to that at times, because we've written stuff that maybe was just opinion and wasn't really based on actual data. So shame on us for doing that. And many people in our work, we don't like data. If you don't like numbers, you might be afraid of the data. And I think that is also another great reason why you should be doing the work that you're doing. So just explain the lab concept and project to the listeners and to the viewers. Yeah, basically the idea was, for one, we had a blog that was doing really well for Agorapulse. And so we wanted to do something that was more data-driven, that maybe the CEO of the company wants to read. Where the social media managers want to read all the other stuff. But maybe how can we get a CEO to want to read content? So Emmerich came up with this idea. And what we really do, we actually go through the scientific method. I don't know if you remember 10th grade biology, where you had to, figure out something you were going to test, figure out how you're going to test it, see if others have tested it, and then form a hypothesis, run your test, and then draw conclusions based on the data. And that's exactly what we do. So it's like going old school.
back to my old days in my, I remember Coach Rantham's science class from back in those days. But and it's different content than I've ever written. It's longer form, and we try not to add opinions to it whatsoever. We're really wanting to base it on data. And a lot of times I'm wrong in my hypothesis, because I've seen people teach certain things. I've probably told people to do certain things, and then I do the test and I'm like, oh crap, we were wrong. But we report that anyway. Say, hey, this is what we saw. And that's the whole point of it is, there's too much. Like there's a test I did, it's published in a couple of weeks, that's on emojis on Twitter. Silly sounding test, but some guy posted a test that, our blog article that went crazy viral said that, emojis got better engagement when he did it. So everybody should do it. And everybody kind of followed suit. He only used 2 posts, 2 tweets, and it was ads at that. And I'm like, 2 is not enough to, it was one.
It's not a sample, right?
No. And so I'm used like 120 tweets, and let's look at it that way. Let's look at a bigger sampling of it and make sure we take out all the anomalies. And we actually use on most of our posts, not all of them, but a statistical calculator, statistically significant calculator, which basically is a geeky little formula that tells you if A is going to be this much better than B, you can expect the results every time you do it. And we have to have at least 95% certainty to say that, this is 100% valid. A lot of times we don't get there. We get like 70%, which is actually still good. It's just your results could vary. And so we kind of stuck to that pretty hard. And it's been neat to do because there's a lot of things that people are going, like right now I'm probably going to start testing long form video versus short form video. That's a hot topic today in Social Media Examiner and Mike Stelzer and all the stuff that they're doing over there. And so he's actually asked me, hey, can you test this? And so stuff like that pops up. We want to put some data to it, not just what we feel, which is what we've done for way too long.
Right, so let's do some social media myth busting. Let us start with Instagram. 30 hashtags on Instagram, yes or no? And should they go in the comments?
Well, Instagram allows you to have up to 30 hashtags. And then from our study, we use a couple of different accounts, and I won't bore you with the details, but there's we use about 3 different accounts with and without 30 hashtags, so trying to see which one did better. When we average them all together, the post with 30 hashtags increased the likes by 135%. So a massive increase in the likes when we used the maximum allotted amount of hashtags. And so I would say on there, it's worth your time doing it. You got to remember on hashtags, and the same thing with in the posts or in the comments, which I'll cover here in a second. Hashtags are not for your existing followers. They're for people who are trying to find you on social media. So your existing followers are really not going to care that you're using them or not. They probably don't even see them because they're looking at the image. That's all they're looking at typically when they're thumbing through their phone. So don't be scared to use the hashtags or stuff it with hashtags because it's all about that explore option. So 30 did tremendously better. And part of the same test, I use the 30 hashtags in and out of the comments. So I put them in the comment. The theory out there, and I've heard, I won't name names, but very prominent social media marketers teach this for years, and they're friends of mine, that you should always put all your hashtags in the first comment because it just looks ugly in the main post. So stick it in the comments. And so we're like, well, is that really worth the effort? Because you got to go back and do it, or you got to use a sketchy app that's breaking Instagram's API to do it. And so we tested with the 30 hashtags in the comments versus being in the original post to kind of see which one would be what I thought it would be better than the post, because that's what everybody's taught me for ages now. And what we found is reach was actually 29.41% higher when we left the hashtags in the original post. So a massive difference. 29% is nothing to sneeze about. I mean, that's a big difference. And so what that boils down to me, what that tells me is, in the old days when everybody was teaching this, Instagram's algorithm on the Explore feed was a lot different. It was based on when the hashtag was added. So if I went in, someone had left a comment, hashtag, JSB, and it would pop back up at the top of the Explore feed on Instagram. Instagram got smart with that because they realized that people like me were leveraging that. And so now that Explore feed's only based on when the post went live. And so it doesn't matter if you come back an hour later, a minute later, it's already got pushed down in the Explore feed based on when you published it. And so you want to get it out there as fast as you can and use all 30 if you want to.
So let's talk then about the Goliath of social media and Facebook and the depressing topic about organic reach. I mean, are we still having this conversation? Don't we know that organic reach is like kind of an Armageddon's type event, that it's just blown up and all we're left with are dust and ashes? What's the story here? Is there any story, or is it a non-story?
Yeah, the Facebook apocalypse or Facebook zero, as so many have said it is. Yes, Facebook reaches down. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of brands in the end, because that means, as a user, we tend to forget that people get on Facebook to like have fun and interact with their friends and family, not to see our business posts. So they want to get people back on the platform. So that means a smart marketer using the right kind of ads can get shown more. But organically, reaches down. And so what we did is back in late 2016, we pulled some data. We have this tool called the Facebook Page Barometer. It's a free tool. Everybody can add their pages to it. And there's about 30,000 pages that have added themselves to it to kind of check themselves out. Lisa Counter-Williams, who does our content, now she's our product marketing manager. She did a test, or like I say a test. She pulled the data and evaluated it back in late 2016, early 2017. And then I pulled it back in early April of 2018 to kind of compare the two, which was kind of cool that we have that data to do. So we looked at overall reach is down. It's down about 13% over the year and a half between those two, which isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's still down, of course, but there's some good news here, though. If you're like a local business pages are actually up just a tiny bit. We found that reach was up 0.4% for local businesses and about 1.5% for like a food and beverage restaurant, kind of business. And that's really good news, because that means Facebook has done what they said they were going to do and kind of shifted Facebook and the way we look at it to local business, because that's what we really relate to. We know the business owners, we know the employees, we know the waitresses, all that kind of stuff. The worst one was like the news, which is what you would expect, the whole fake news going on. News sites, news pages were down 33.17% over the year and a half. And that's exactly what I would have expected it to be. So is the sky falling? No, it's just a little bit lower maybe than it was a year ago, but 13% is not that bad, not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When you look at your overall page, it's only a couple of people difference sometimes for some people. But local businesses, I think, are going to thrive. I've run a local business page for years, and it's been my bread and butter for that business. And I've seen my reach just continually go up, where like a page like Agora Pulse, which is a global SaaS company page, our reach has gone down. It's harder because we're a different type of, no one's as connected to us. We don't have that community like a local business tends to have. So that's the data that we've got. And I love to see what it looks like. Every 6 months, I want to pull this data and kind of look at it and see if we really are trending down. Because these are real pages. These aren't just, us pulling Coca-Cola's numbers and then saying, hey, Coca-Cola's doing great, it's pretty interesting data to look at.
So LinkedIn recently jumped on the hashtag bandwagon, and now it's suggesting even hashtags that we should be using. And I love when it suggests, when I put in JS and then it finishes and it adds B and talks digital. That makes me really happy. But does it make a difference to the algorithm and displaying your posts to the right audience? Because that's what they tell us it does.
Yeah, the suggested hashtag, I think, is so smart on their part, because it makes you do it. Google Plus was doing that too. Long live Google Plus.
R.I.P.
It's gone now. By the time you publish this, it'll definitely be gone. So LinkedIn hashtags are kind of new for users, I think, because I haven't gone over to LinkedIn and searched for hashtags, but evidently people are, because what we did is we ran a test using just one hashtag. I wanted to see if it did any difference. So I used two different accounts, a business page for Agora Pulse and my personal account. And we did posts with and without. They're all linked posts too, the way they were all very similar. When we use one hashtag, we had 29.59% higher views or impressions because profiles versus pages show it a little bit differently. So that one hashtag resulted in basically 30% higher views. That's a big amount. And there was a simple hashtag too. It was like hashtag social media tools or something like that. Social media tips, hashtag social media tips. That's all we use. And so that tells me that either people are clicking on them on other people's posts and making us show up, or people are actually searching with that hashtag. And so it's something to think about. I don't think you should go crazy with them like you might on Instagram with 30, because the user base is so different there. But one relevant like yours, especially for our branding purposes, we could do hashtag social media lab, and every post about the lab somebody could find with that quick hashtag search. So I think it's smart to do, and the data supports that it makes a difference.
Okay, fantastic. I've just finished delivering a workshop on Facebook ads, but let's talk about Twitter ads. Not so intuitive, and I know they're trying to expand their advertising base. Now let's talk about Twitter Promote, and this is the package they're offering for $99. I'm not even sure if it's rolled out globally as of yet, but you guys had a look at it, right? And you tried it out.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they put it out there. Gosh, it was about a year ago almost. And this is just a great way to kind of set it and forget it. So you pay them $99. They're going to promote up to your first 10 tweets, no photos, no, motivational text kind of things. So basically link post. And they gave you this, saying that this guarantee almost that you're going to get 30 new followers by doing it. And so we spent $99 on two different accounts, my personal account and Agora Pulse account. I've actually got more followers than the Agora Pulse account, so it's kind of cool to see what the difference is. I would just say flat out, to get cut to the chase, it was an absolute failure. It was not worth the $99. When we look at the followers we gained, if we just based it on that alone, which was like their big guarantee, you're going to get at least 30 new followers. We're like, hey, for $99, if we get some traffic and we get 30 new followers, about $3 a follower, that's not horrible. I got 4 followers on my personal account from the $99, which is about $25 a follower. And the Agora Pulse account got a little bit better. I got 18 new followers at about $5.50 US per follower, and which is not very good. I could go to Fiverr and get followers quicker.
but we don't recommend that.
No, we don't. But I'm just saying it for what they were guaranteeing.
Yeah.
Strange. And the strange part about it too is you have no control over it whatsoever. You just give them your money, and then you hope they promote it. You don't know what they're going to promote. They don't give you a lot of data back. They just kind of show this weird graph that shows that reach went up, clicks went up. They don't tell you what tweet they clicked on or what link it was. And then what I noticed at the very end, which was the most disturbing part of this whole thing, was like my graph, especially for my personal account, like the profile visits and the interaction was real low in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, like the last 4 or 5 days, it jumped up like crazy. Almost like, the intern had been using the $99 to buy Starbucks and finally went, oh yeah, I gotta use this real fast. And just all of a sudden promoted it at the end. I mean, the spike doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It should have been steady across the board because our tweets were steady across the board. But all of a sudden, like both accounts, it just jumps towards the end. Which tells me it's a failure because you're letting someone else control your money, which is not very smart. It's a great way if you're starting out probably to get into ads, but if you're being serious about your marketing, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it kind of breaks all the basic principles of doing a targeted marketing campaign, and especially using budget. And it almost feels like that project was a self-fulfilling prophecy that the Twitter platform as an advertising platform is really not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I think doing some targeted ads through Twitter can be a lot better. And we're actually working on some targeted Twitter ads just to see. But yeah, just throwing somebody $99, which isn't a lot, obviously, but if you're a small business, it might be. But not having no control other than like 2 or 3 categories that they don't even define enough to tell you what that means. Like I could pick categories, but I couldn't pick categories and location. So if I was a local business, say here in Texas, and I said, oh, I'm a sports business, so I'm going to target sports, they may have targeted people in Dublin. and I can't sell to them because I'm a bicycle shop in Dallas, and so there's the control there was just not, very good. And I think they ought to just dump it, but it's a great money grab for Twitter.
So they've been really great social media myths busted. Some clarification on really important tactics that we as social media marketers use. I can't finish this interview without talking a little bit about Michael Stelzner, his announcement this week, Social Media Examiner, and the fact that they are only going to be showing their show, The Journey, on YouTube. I have to say, I watch it on YouTube. I get the notifications. I'm happy out there. But the response that he got made everybody sit up and go, oh my goodness, is long form content dead on Facebook? Did it even ever take off? We know that YouTube is a slow burn. You really got to work at it. And I think it left some people feeling confused, deflated, or maybe even a little bit depressed. You're going to test it, but what are your initial thoughts?
Oh, this could be really long. We've talked about this a lot yesterday because Mike messaged me privately and said, "Hey, can you test this?" And here's why. And he's about to go live on Facebook here in a few minutes, and I'm kind of interested to watch it. But I personally, I'm not a big video watcher. Just for one, I live in a small town with very bad internet, so I don't like watching videos on my phone. It just doesn't load great. But I think the sky is falling mentality is not. You can't say that's good for everybody. It may not be working for him, but it's working for other creators. And so I think it's a little bit too, unless he has a lot of data to back it up outside of his own page, I caution anybody to 100% follow it. I think you've got to look at yours. Do people watch a lot of long video on Facebook? Probably not, unless they're going to Facebook Watch and doing it in their news feed. You watch a quick funny video or an interview and you move on, unless you're watching it live. So I don't know. I think it's silly of him to completely pull it off of Facebook because there are a lot of people like me. I don't use YouTube as a user anymore. I did in the old days, but I don't anymore. And so I won't watch it now. I mean, it'll be gone for me because I'm not going to take that extra effort to go over to YouTube. So I don't see the point of pulling it. I would do it on both still and just know that we're going to get half the viewers on one and more on the other. That's probably the way I would take it. But I want to look at the data. I want to look at his data. Hopefully he'll share his data with us so we can look at it. And we've been doing a lot of Facebook Live videos here lately. We've interviewed about 20 different marketers and the tools they use. And we can see on those that the viewership drops towards the end because if you go back and replay and watch a 30-minute long Facebook Live, you're gonna fall off after about 5 or 6 minutes unless it's just that you love those people that much. But people who are watching live tend to stick on a little bit longer. So I think that's where the numbers are going to get messed up for people is you got to compare live versus pre-recorded. And then, it's going to be, I think it's the same thing with the Facebook Zero, Facebook Apocalypse. And I'm catching my words as easily, as best I can here, but, Stelzner got on the Facebook Zero, Facebook sky is falling thing really fast and caused panic. And it's not 13% is not Facebook Apocalypse in my opinion. So it's not. I think it caused a lot of frustration and confusion for people, and he shouldn't have done it. I think this may be the same thing. I could be wrong. So I want to see data. I want to test it and see a lot of people's pages outside of the social space too. That's the important part. I think a lot of times we fail as social media marketers who teach of only looking at our own digital accounts and not looking at the local pizza place, the clothing store, or these other ones who are out there doing social. What's working for them, and that's what we got to look at. Not just what is Social Media Examiner doing, or what's Agora Pulse doing, what's Buffer doing. Well, we're a totally different audience from the normals, as I call them. So that's kind of my initial thought. We had a lot of conversation yesterday after that. Me and Mike Alton did, and okay, now what do we do? But I want to test it, and I want to get some data behind it. My opinion doesn't really matter in the end. It's about the data.
Excellent. And I think that's a really good point. I think we should all, if we're doing video on multiple platforms, rather than making a rash decision, I think we should all take responsibility and look at our numbers, look at our data. Before you go, can I make a request, please, for the Social Media Lab? Can you do some testing on IGTV?
Yeah, I would love to. We've talked about that, trying to figure out because we're not good at video. I mean, we do Facebook Lives okay, and we've actually thought about taking some of the Facebook Live interviews and seeing if we can somehow fit it into the...
Or doing your promo on IGTV for your Facebook Live, perhaps.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, so we've got to figure out the video. We've struggled with video just as a company. It's never been our strong point. So we need to test it for sure. I would love to get with somebody who does wink some IGTV and maybe test it and see what they're doing on it. I think that would be probably the better way to do it. Since we're not good at it, find somebody like Owen Video who is, and you kind of look at their data. That's the way we were hoping to leverage some of that.
Scott, this is a pleasure. Guys, if you're not reading his blog posts, if you're not checking out Agora Pulse and the Social Media Lab and what they're doing, you have to subscribe, because I tell you, as a teacher, as a marketer, it almost feels I can stand in my social media marketing shoes a little bit taller when I have data to back up what I'm saying. So Scott, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, you can, anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search Social Media Lab. Even on Google Home and your Alexa, you can ask them and they'll play it for you. Or on the web, just go to agorapulse.com/social media lab. That's kind of our room on the house. And then on social, we're just simply at Agora Pulse.
Fantastic. Scott, an absolute pleasure. And you're going to be an interviewee that I'm going to have to get you back on again, because as social changes and you do new tests, I want you to share with my listeners. So thanks a million, and great to catch up eventually.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Shoutouts.
In this part of the show, I give shoutouts to brands, organizations, or individuals whose work online is remarkable and worth talking about. But in this episode, I'm going a little bit astray. I'm giving shoutouts to those people who are still spreading social media myths. Well, if you are listening and you say any one of these 3 statements, then you know who you are.
1.
I've lost count at the number of times people have said to me that social media is free. While the platforms are free to use, if we're really going to get a return on investment, then we have to invest in the advertising platforms. Let's take Facebook, for example. Organic reach is now sitting at between 0 and 2% for most pages. In order to scale your message, target the right audience, and get results, you're certainly going to have a budget for Facebook ads. The other reason that social media is not free is that we always have to upskill and continuously learn about new features and functionality. That takes time, and time costs money.
2.
Would you give the keys to your boardroom to a junior, to an intern, or to somebody who's just joined the organisation? Would you let them chair meetings? Would you let them go front of screen in a TV media interview? I don't know why people say that social media is for juniors. The last time I saw a junior take the reins of a social media political account, it ended up in a social media storm. Why don't you invest in your communications executives, train them astutely in social media, and make sure that they're managing your reputation online?
3.
If somebody says to you that social media is a waste of time, then they probably don't understand the platforms or have used them to any great effect. Social media is a waste of time if you don't have a strategy. Social media is a waste of time if you're trying to do mass messaging to mass audiences. Those of us in the game understand that social media works when you know exactly what your objectives are, who your audience is, and you take time to segment them, and that you craft creative and targeted messages that speak directly to them. The next time you're on social media and you stop, engage, read, watch, or even listen, ask yourself why. It's probably because the message resonates with you. So, what other social media myths do you have and that you can bust? Let me know. Send me a tweet to @tweetsbyJSB.
Ask JSB.
In this week's Ask JSB, I have a question from Brussels. Sofia Barahona is social media manager at the European People's Party. She has a question about scheduling Instagram stories.
Hi Joanne, it's Sophia from the EPP. I have a question for you. I hope you can solve my problem. I just wanted to ask, are there any tools to schedule Instagram stories? Thank you.
Hi, Sophia, and thank you so much for your question. As Instagram stories grows in popularity, I now have lots of people asking me about how you might be able to schedule stories to manage your time more effectively. Well, I've come across a tool called Storito. That's STORRITO.com. It will post your story directly to your Instagram account, and you can pick a date and it will be posted later. You can also use Storito's story templates to turn your image into an animated story video. Up to 10 posts per month is absolutely free, so make sure you try it before you spend any money. In actual fact, it's quite cost effective, as the maximum you will pay for a professional account is $60. If you have a digital marketing or social media question, don't forget you can have it answered on the show. Use the hashtag AskJSB on Twitter or Instagram, or you can leave me a voicemail with your question at digitaltraininginstitute.ie/AskJSB.
JSB's column.
In today's JSB's column, I reflect on why some people are still refusing to engage with social media for business or public interest messaging, and how you can convince them to embrace it with open arms. One of the most asked questions that I get is, how do you get management buy-in for social media or digital marketing? It's really important for us to understand the reasons why management are reluctant to engage in digital transformation or to embrace social media fully. Firstly, I think many of these managers have a personal bias. Their own views state that social media or the internet at large has no value for serious business or public sector communications. They may also have a poor understanding of social media. Maybe their children are using Snapchat. You can't manage what you don't understand. So when senior leaders don't understand social, yet they want to control all communications, they can get in their own way. They may also have a fear of public criticism. When you step onto the social media stage, you're inviting the public to have a conversation with you. But then you have to expect that they might criticize you. That's just the age that we live in. Your manager may have had a previous bad experience and they may have stepped back because of that. When you step into the public domain, you have to be willing to get it wrong. A lot of the case studies at my Public Sector Digital Marketing Summit shared this message. You have to be willing to make mistakes, to learn what your audience wants, and also to make sure that you're a better social media marketer. So, what can you do to empower your manager, your boss, your director, your CEO to become more open-minded around social media? Firstly, by taking any social media management course, you are stepping up and declaring that you want to be a digital transformation leader. You must use your knowledge, skills, case studies, and experiences to apply them in the workplace. Use them as conversation starters. Don't make anyone feel under pressure to understand social media, but at least if you're having daily social media conversations, it opens people's minds. The next thing that I advise you to do is have a frank conversation with your manager. Ask him or her what communications objective they are trying to achieve in the current 6-month time frame. Make sure that you can align those goals with social media objectives and demonstrate to them how social media can help them get there faster. Secondly, get a case study from a similar organization or business and share it with your manager. If you need a case study relevant to your organization, let me know. I have loads of them on file. Then you need to test your organization's social media activity right now. Can you actually pull out some success stories? How has social media contributed to the bottom line? Help shaped public opinion around a campaign? And then you need to communicate clearly without any jargon. Being a supportive colleague and managing up the digital transformation process will help your manager move forward. Remember, you hold the knowledge and you need to share it. It's also important to point out that many people fear and dislike change. It's human instinct to reject it. If you have a roadmap of how this change will take place, who's involved, their role, their responsibility, and any training and mentoring to support them, it will remove that fear. Take it in social media baby steps. Knowledge is power. How about getting in a 1-hour lunchtime guest speaker to inspire? Hey, people ask me to come in and do that job all the time, so you can ask me to do that. And finally, invite them to a digital marketing or social media event. Get them in a room with their peers and let them have conversations with other people that might shape their thinking. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if any of these tactics make a positive difference in your organization. If you want to discuss your social media marketing strategy with me, then get in touch. Simply drop me an email to joanne@digitaltraining.ie.
Social media tool of the week.
The social media tool that saved my working week this week is social media analytics search from TalkWalker. TalkWalker's free social search monitors every conversation about your brand, hashtags, and competition on social media. Find out what the internet is saying about you in seconds. Enjoy unlimited real-time data with their free social media search engine. Know who's talking about you with live audience insights from the tool, and use that data from their social search to empower you in your media and communications. Why not try it out for yourself? Log on to talkwalker.com/social-media-analytics-search. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 121 of JSB Talks Digital. If you're a regular listener, I would love a review to help spread the word about my podcast. As always, I have everything discussed on today's show on my award-winning blog at digitaltraining.ie. We find out next week if we can win a gong at the 2018 Irish Blog Awards. So stay tuned for more on our Twitter account to see if we make gold. Don't forget, we're also now on Google Podcasts, reaching even more Android users. You can also subscribe on iTunes or Spotify. Last week, we jumped on Amazon Alexa with our new weekly 1-minute flash briefing. So that tells you what's coming up on the show. If you have an Amazon Echo, please try it and let me know what you think. If you're interested in becoming a digital marketing pro and work in the public sector, check out all my resources and suite of products over at publicsectormarketingpros.com/diploma. I also have a dedicated monthly podcast for you guys, and that's released on the first Monday of each month. Thanks as always for continuing to listen, and don't forget to get in touch if you want to come on the show, if you've got a social media tool that you love, or if you have a great case study. Between now and then, make sure that you keep in touch on the social media machine. Find me on Twitter at tweetsbyjsb, post a comment on our Facebook page, Digital Training Institute. You can also snap me to JSB Snaps, or you'll find me on Instagram as JSB Grams. I'm Joanne Sweeney Burke. This is JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.